Hi, this is Katelyn, and I'll be walking you through the 4th grade worksheets for lesson 29. Let's start off with this first worksheet that says record outcomes. And so the experiment says Bernadette and Charles organized their outcomes in this table, this one. They tossed a counter and used a spinner labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the counter has either a red or yellow, and the spinner has either 1, 2, 3, or 4. So the first one is name the possible outcomes for this experiment. Well, this is one outcome. You get a red and a 1. You can also get a red and a 2, or a red and a 3, or a red and a 4. Or you also get a yellow 1, yellow 2, yellow and a 3, or a yellow and a 4. I just abbreviated there. But the possible outcomes you can just write here as red 1, 2, 3, 4. Or yellow 1, 2, 3, 4. How many possible outcomes? If you count them up, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 outcomes. So how many outcomes would there be if they had used a spinner with 6 different numbers? So we're going to add 2 more numbers here, 5 and 6, and you get R5, R6, and Y5 and Y6. And if you count them up, you now have 12 outcomes. Okay, so the second worksheet, I'm just going to do a few problems. Let's do the first one. So one says 6 weeks is equal to how many days? So we know that 1 week is equal to 7 days. Now we have 6 weeks. So we're trying to figure, if 1 is 7, that means 6, you have to multiply it by 7, because in this first one, 7 is 7 times of 1. And so this one has to be 7 times of 6. So 7 times 6 is 42. And write it in here, and I'll do number 2 as well. 48 months is equal to how many years? Well, we know that 12 months is equal to 1 year. So if 12 months is 1 year, then 40 months is how many years? Well, 12 is 12 times of 1. And so 48 is how many times of 4? That calls for division. 48 divided by 12 is 4 years. So, number 5, we're talking about variable c and the solution for variable c. Now we have 14 minus c equals 6. And so what we want to do is minus 14 on both sides. We have negative c is equal to negative 8, and if we divide both of these by negative 1, we get c equals 8, which is b. So, tell whether each event is certain or impossible. I'll do 2. Number 1 says pulling a red pencil from a box of blue pencils. Well, if your box is entirely made up of blue pencils, it's not possible to get a red pencil, and so your event would be impossible. I cannot get a red pencil from a box of blue pencils. Number 2 says pulling a quarter from a bag full of quarters. So it is certain, it is 100% that you will get a quarter if you pull, anything out of a full bag of quarters. So this is certain. So I'm going to move on to the next worksheet, which is predict outcomes of experiments. Now, predict, which means just to postulate or to guess what might happen. Now, these are your choices. Likely, which means that most likely it'll happen. There's a really big chance. Unlikely means that it's not likely to happen, but it's not impossible. Equally means that when you're comparing two things are both equally likely. So, I will do the first 3. Number 1 says tossing a prime number on a cube labeled 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. Prime number is a number, as we know, that has 2 factors, which is 1 and itself. So 3 is a prime number, 5 is a prime number, 7 is, 9 is not, because 9 also has 3 times 3, 11 is, and 13 is as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers out of 6. Out of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are prime numbers. So tossing a prime number on a cube labeled with these numbers, there is a 5 out of 6 probability, which is pretty high. This means that it is likely, because 5 is a very close number to 6. Now, number 2 says tossing a 1, tossing a 3 on a number cube labeled 1 to 6. Now, the number cube label, 1 and 3 have an equal possibility because out of 6, there are 6 faces on a number cube, and it is equally likely that it'll land on any one of them. So 1 and 3 equal. This is equally likely. Number 3 says pulling a green marble from a bag that has 1 green, 6 yellow, and 5 red marbles. Let's add them up together to see how many marbles there are in total. 1 plus 6 is equal to 7, and 7 plus 5 is equal to 12. So there are 12 marbles in total. And you want to see how likely it is to pull a green marble from the bag. Well, you only have 1 green. So out of the 12 marbles, there's only 1 chance that you will get a green marble. And because of that, it is unlikely. 10 out of 12 is pretty likely. 11 out of 12 is pretty likely. But 1 out of 12 marbles is not very likely. So the last worksheet that we have, I'll do one problem. It says look at the spinner for number 1 and 2. So which sum for 2 spins is more likely, 2 or 3, or are they equally likely? So we're looking at the sum for 2 spins. Now, if we spin it once, we know that the probabilities are either 1, 2, or 3. But if we spin it twice and we add the 2 numbers, then it gets a little complicated. So we're going to write all the possibilities out. The first one is that the first time I spin, I get a 1, and the second time I spin, I also get a 1, and so this is 2. The second probability is that first time I spin, I get a 1, and the second time I spin, I get a 2, which equals to 3. Third one is 1, and then 3, which means I get a 4. So this is one set of possibilities, but I could also spin a 2 on the first time and get a 2. Now I have 4, and then I can also get a 1. I can also get just 5. And another one is that if I spin a 3 on the first time and I get a 1 on the second time, if I spin a 3 on the first time, I get a 2 on the second time, and if I spin a 3 on the first time and get a 3 on the second time, then that is 6. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 probabilities out of 9, because we're comparing 2. So how many of them are 2? We have 1 here, and that's it. 1 out of 9. How about 3? We have 1 here, that's a 2. So 2 out of 9 is greater than 1 out of 9. So which sum for 2 spins is more likely? 2 or 3 are the equal likely? 3 is more likely. So number 2 says, which sum are you most likely to get if you spin the pointer 2 times? So we're looking at the same scenario and we're asking which number did we get the most as a sum. Well, you got 2 one time, you got 3 2 times, you got 4 1, 2, 3 times, you got 5 2 times, and you got 6 1 time. So you will most likely get a 4. And that'll be all for today.